G'day, welcome back to part 13 of my milling machine build. If you missed part 12, there's a link up there now, you can go watch it first. I'd like to welcome all my new subscribers and I hope you enjoy the content on my channel. I think I can fairly confidently say that this should be the last part or episode of this, because now that I had the table sorted out, we can just get on with the last couple of little things. So follow me over to the mill and we'll get started on it. Alrighty, now that we've got I've got this table into a usable state, it's time to finish this hand wheel off. I had a slight mishap when I first set it up. I didn't tighten everything up so that I could line this up just by touching up against it with this 20mm cutter I bought. And then I forgot to tighten it up, and that first cut I went to make, it just grabbed and spun it out of there. But I've made a couple of test cuts now, we'll go from there. Well, looking at that, I'd say I need to trim the head again, but all the same, that's not too bad. Actually, it's really hard to feel it. You can see it, it's hard to feel it. Anyway, I'll show you when I finish the other side. Well, viewers, I don't know about you, but that looks alright to me. Looks like a bloody bought one to me. But anyway, that's as far as I'm prepared to go with that. It's like I said, I'm a whole lot more function over fashion. Another little job I had to do, I'd already done this morning. I didn't bother to film it. I fitted up this this spray cooler. I've got to get another little valve from somewhere because my poor little compressor won't keep up with this thing, so I'll have to slow the airflow down and try and get it to work all the same. So next cab off the rank will be to machine up this micrometer dial to put onto that thing. Alrighty, so I cut the sprue off over in the bandsaw, and there was a section I had carved down to fairly round, and I've machined it round, put it back into the back here so I can hold it to machine this up. I'll face it off. It's slightly larger this end. This end will have the knurl on it, and in this section here we'll have all the numbering. I'll get on with it. This was a piece of that more dense foam, and it definitely cleans up a lot easier. There's not much to get out of there now. Doesn't like those heavier cuts coming back out, so I'll do one fine one back. It'll do me. That little pop in the centre there is where I push it over a nail to cut it out. Old mate's fired up the music again. Not a good knurling tool, this thing, but it's not something you need lots and lots of grip on. That'll do me. Alrighty, so what I've got to do now is I've got to bore the guts out of it, knock this bit off the back, so I'll flip it around and I'll finish all that back end off, polish it up a bit, and then put all the grooves in it ready for the numbering. But I think I've had enough for one day now that he's fired that music up, and we'll get into it again tomorrow. Alrighty, another kind of wet, miserable, wet season day here today. Righto, so I'll flip this around and took it over the saw and cut this off the back. That's that little bit I left on there, and I've just lightly faced it because it's almost exactly the width it's got, the thickness it's got to be at the moment. And I've polished up this face here so that it won't make it difficult when it comes time to mark it with the black. I use fingernail polish to mark the increments and all the lines and the numbers. So now all I need to do is drill it out, bore it to fit the handle. So I'll get into that. This is that cheap, nasty 19mm drill I bought that I re-hardened. I'll put a link up top now for that video if you didn't see that. Alrighty, get that out of there, bore it out. Better check what size I'm making it first. I think it's 20mm. 20mm it is. It's only cut 0.1 size, which I'm pretty happy with. Better check that one. You've got to take a millimetre out of this. So. Whoa. And it's already 1993, so just as well I stopped that. About size for size at the moment, I think. Perfect. Alrighty, for the benefit of the new subscribers that I've picked up since the last time I did one of these, I'll just go roughly through what I'm going to do here. This is a spindle brake that I built a while back, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link up the top for you to go have a look at that after this video. And it just locks everything in place. Now up here, this is just a printed disc that I got off the internet. This one's hundredths. I have 2 or 3 different types. Little pointer here which points to the mark that I want to use. This one's just marked 0, and then I go around all the long lines. Gives me 10 marks all the way around, and then I go around and do all these smaller ones, and then I go around and do all the little ones, which gives me 100 markings all up. The tool I use to scribe this with is just a piece of high-speed steel sharpened up with a little V on it. I'll loosen this and show you the end of it. Just got a little point ground into it. So that's all I use to mark it with. Now, something I've been meaning to do for a while is make a stop up for this thing, but the only time I use it much is for doing this. At the moment I'm just clamping a bit of steel down here against the rail as a stop, and I'll move it after I've finished each lot of grooves. So I'll show you 1 or 2 markings, and then I'll show you when I'm done. I usually do this just maybe once or twice. Find a good depth that I like. That's about probably right. That'll do. and then I don't touch that again until I've finished. So it's just press down, release the brake, turn this round to the next mark, lock the brake, go again. And the reason I'm not going to video all of this is it takes all up about 2 hours to do this. It's a pretty long-winded process, and I don't think you want to sit through that. Anyway, that's how it goes. Alrighty, old mate's got that bloody music playing again. My wrist is telling me I've finished putting 100 lines on there, and I've just stuffed up and put a scratch in the back, which I'm pretty dirty about. What I want to do now is just run the tool across the top of this, just off the surface, and knock all these burrs off. I've ended up with considerably more burring than I would normally get, because I've gone a bit deeper this time than I normally go. But anyway, so I'll turn the camera off a minute and just have a little. I've pushed some of those burrs. Oh, it looks like run across there as well. God. The one thing you don't want to end up with is radial marks this way, because the whatever you put in there, the paint, whatever, gets in those, and it's really hard to get out again. That's why I polished it up to start with. But now I've gone and destroyed it by touching the tool on here. That might have been just the swarf coming off, scratching that, but I'll come back to it. Alrighty, so I went over this and just cleaned it up a little bit. Found this stuff a while back. It's an automotive touch-up pen, and the brush on this, it's got a pen one here, but it doesn't seem to work. But it also has a brush in it, so I thought I might give that a whirl. Black lacquer. It's a whole lot thinner than the fingernail polish, but anyway. This is why I was saying you don't want any marks on there that shouldn't be there, because this stuff gets into it, then you have a hard time getting it back out again. But I've decided that these lines being a bit deeper than I normally make them, leaves me a bit more latitude for cleaning it up. Alright, so that's that done. We'll allow that to dry, and then I'll bring you back a little later. We'll clean it up, see how it looks. Well, I've got to admit that's not the best one I've ever made, but it'll do. At least all the marks look nice and even and well spaced. These castings have got little tiny pinholes in them, and I don't know where you can see them, but there's lots of little pinholes there full of black paint or whatever now. But anyway, that'll do. I'll stamp some numbers up in it, and that'll be finished. Outside of I put a little grub screw in a piece of something in the bottom of that to help tension it up, to make it so it doesn't slip too much. But what I did to clean that up was I put a new tip in, and I just did a very fine cut across the face of it, and then just sanded it up a bit. But that's come up well enough. I don't think I'll be going that deep with them again though. I kind of went deeper this time, because the last time I didn't go deep enough, and I had a few radial marks, and by the time I sanded it all out you could hardly see the damn things. So that's why I went deeper this time. But anyway, that will do. If you've been enjoying this video up until this point, and perhaps maybe even learnt something, how about smashing that like button and giving it a great big thumbs up. Well, next cab off the rank is to reposition the attachment of the lead screw nut, so I can get this up higher and give me some more workable height, and possibly longer tool lengths. There is, and that's pretty much the last thing to do, and this will be finished, with the exception of one thing. I wouldn't mind a DRO, but they're a bit too rich for my blood. So I've ordered a couple of these Shea mini DROs, or individual DROs, I don't know what you'd call them, but only have two coming, one for the Z-axis and one for the Y-axis. They don't make a 400mm one for the X-axis, and these two are offering free shipping. The 500mm one that I have to use for the x-axis, the shipping was as much as the little unit, so I went, no, I'll wait for that to be on special sometime, buy one then. So we'll get on with moving all this, and luckily for me, and not by design, it was just pure arse really, I can take all of this unit off the top here with just 2 bolts and undoing this here. That's all I've got to do, and the whole lot will just lift off. And then I have to take the head off to get at the bolt, because it's in underneath there. And like I said the other day, I think it needs retramming anyway, so that'll give me the opportunity to retram it. I want to put it all back together. Alrighty, so that's it. It's actually, this is the mounting bolt just here, so it's not underneath there, but it's going to have to go under. I might have to use this hole here, make a little plug for it or something to use that one. I've got about 3 inches at the top that I can lift it by, and that's probably only 2. I might even have to come down in here, a new hole in there. But anyway, I'll get on with it. Alrighty, so I've moved it from here down to here. I measured this. It wasn't a bad guess, 3 inches. It was almost exactly 75mm. I decided it wasn't coming down here 75, so I came down 65mm from the centre of that bolt. Put this one in, and this is where I get to now. So there's about 10mm left at the top there. So that gives me a lot more travel. I've spent a bit of time adjusting all the gibs, and for those of you who've come into this project late, this has 3 gibs, not 1. There's one on the side here and one in the back on each side to adjust any slack out of it. So I've just been, took me quite a while, went right over it, and I've adjusted all them. But that'll give me a lot more latitude for height and longer tools. So now I've put it all back together. Alrighty, so I'm going to refit this spindle the way I fitted it up originally, clamped into the into this old chuck of mine, and chuck's clamped to the table, and you can tweak it here and there until you get it perfectly flat against the back there, and then bolt it up. So hopefully, now that this has been machined in situ, with this all bolted back in like that, it should be hopefully pretty good, pretty close to where it needs to be. So I'll get all that bolted back up, and finally got to use some 123 blocks, or not actually 123s, they're 25, 50, 75 blocks, metric ones, because with this going high and out wouldn't go low enough to go set into the top of the chuck with it mounted on here. So I've mounted it up on these 2 blocks. So I'll bolt all that up and get it done. Oh, I can feel the extra weight in that without the counterweights on it. Alrighty, so that's that done. Well viewers, there it is, that's it. I've got to say at this point that I think I'm all done. I'd also like to say at this point how really pleased I am with this thing, and just how all that came out, considering the whole thing just came out of my head. No drawings, no plans, no nothing. Make it up as I go, and I am really quite pleased with it. For those of you who have stuck with me and sat all the way through that table rebuild and then all the way through this, thanks for hanging in there, and I really appreciate your viewing my videos. So that's the end of this one, and our next project I think will be a milling vise for this. So that's the end. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.